On behalf of American Public Media and the Wilson Center, let me welcome you to the relaunch of Budget Hero. At a time when congressional conversation about the budget has all but broken down, we are here with Senators Sessions and Udall and former Representatives Tanner and Livingston to provide a teaching tool to the American people so they can be empowered to drive the debate. That way, the American public can become the heroes we need. Budget Hero is a game that will help the public understand the difficult choices involved in reducing the deficit and raising the debt limit. It provides facts, not spin or ideological talking points. Facts such as exactly how much do we spend on foreign assistance, the military budget, health care, or entitlements, and what difference would it make to cut them, or in some cases, to expand them. I'm Jane Harmon. I'm the new president and CEO of the Wilson Center, succeeding Lee Hamilton in March. And the Wilson Center, a convener of experts, scholars, and policymakers in a safe bipartisan political space, is thrilled to be able to relaunch a new version of this game, which was highly successful in the 2008 election cycle. We first developed the game in 2007 with American Public Media, another nonpartisan organization. A few things you should know about Budget Hero. First, the game starts 10 years from now to show what would happen if current policy were to continue unchanged. You can adjust that, and we'll show you how you do that on the game, but that's the way it's programmed. Players have the opportunity to change the fiscal outlook and in the process make decisions that support their values. You'll see how hard this is to do. The game allows players to choose from over 100 policy options covering a wide range of areas like national security, schools and kids, science and nature, housing and living, healthcare, infrastructure, Social Security, taxes, and tackling the interest on our nation's debt, which I know several speakers are going to tell us is huge and possibly will eat our entire budget if we don't do something about it. The game has been updated to include such things as Congressman Paul Ryan's Medicare plan, as well as the Medicare reform proposal authored by the Bipartisan Policy Center, the Lugar-Bachmann initiative to replace farm subsidies with savings accounts, and what impact freezing military spending would have on our budget picture. We've also added, and we'll explain in a moment how badges work, but we've added a brand new Tea Party badge. The game is transparent. The Congressional Budget Office provided the latest budget numbers, and we vetted the pro and con information with a range of experts. The game lists the sources used at the bottom of the policy cards so that you can see where the arguments came from. Budget Hero 2.0 highlights the many strengths of the Wilson Center. There is no issue more relevant to the debates in this country today than fiscal literacy, and this game contributes directly to that goal. We plan to get this game out to universities and high schools for the fall semester, stressing the need for public education on a critical issue confronting the nation and engaging the younger generation in a key debate. We will also take this game to the four corners of this country. We're collaborating with American Public Media to maximize our collective impact, and it is now my pleasure to introduce Linda Fanton of APM for her introductory remarks.
Thanks, Jane. When we first launched Budget Hero in May 2008, the country was in a much different place, politically and economically. The unemployment rate was 5%, and the national debt was about $5 trillion less than what it is now. But even then, the American people showed incredible interest in government spending, in the budget, in the trade-offs that have to be made to actually make our country run effectively. And they did this regardless of their politics and regardless of their personal background. They showed a great capacity to make trade-offs, even when those trade-offs were not in their own best interest, but in the best interest of the country. And that really reinforced something that we've known for a long time at American Public Media, which is that the intellect of the American public and their ability to be empathetic, to step outside their own personal experience and make some hard choices is one of our greatest assets as a country, and certainly for the media. And it's why we created the Public Insight Network at American Public Media, which is a way to unlock that potential and that intellect for the benefit of journalists, for the benefit of policymakers and citizens and the communities that we all serve. The Public Insight Network then is a platform for people to share their expertise and their knowledge, not just on the budget, but on any number of issues. And they do this through a number of tools and software we've set up and through serious games like Budget Hero. About 110,000 citizens around the country are now sources for journalists through the Public Insight Network. They live in every state. They live, regardless whether they're close to Washington in policy, they live in Wyoming, my home state. They live in Minnesota. We have about 3,000 sources who live outside the U.S. borders. And 7,000 of these people joined the Public Insight Network and became sources through Budget Hero. And what they told us about the game was that it not only changed the way that they thought about the federal budget, but it changed the way they voted in elections. So this is really important stuff. I mean, not only is the game fun, but it's educational. And they also said how much they appreciated the strength of the reporting, the transparency, and the vetting of the information, and that it was bipartisan. Some people even said that they thought every member of Congress should be required to play the game. So you might give that a little thought. But we're thrilled to be partners with the Wilson Center in relaunching the game at this time when this subject is actually forefront in the minds of the American people and our lawmakers here in Washington. And we're very happy to have a couple of graduate students who are going to play the game. We're happy to be rolling this out in high schools and colleges in the coming months so that students and their parents and can help play this game and set the debate and really change the direction the country's going. So thanks, and Jane, thanks again.
Thank you. Linda, thank you. I'm not sure what's going on with this game. Are we okay?
Yeah, it'll just have to reboot the computer, unfortunately. It restarted on me.
Okay, well, while we reboot the computer, let me introduce our bipartisan, bicameral Congress Act. I am especially grateful to Senators Sessions and Udall for co-hosting this event, and I'm going to introduce them first. In fact, I'm going to introduce all four of our speakers, who will each speak briefly, and then have them come up one at a time, and then we'll go on to show everybody, I hope, how the game works. Senator Jeff Sessions is ranking member on the Senate Budget Committee and has served on that committee since 2003 and in the Senate since 1997. He said on Face the Nation Sunday that budget negotiations should be done, quote, publicly in the constitutional process so the American people can see what's going on. He added, I really believe we need a national discussion. I agree. Jeff Sessions and I have traveled to garden spots like Yemen and Afghanistan, and I salute his effort to educate the public and his courage to be a key part of this budget debate. Mark Udall from Colorado was elected to the Senate in 2008 after serving 5 terms in the House. As a freshman senator, he has been outspoken on the need to balance America's budget. He co-sponsored the bipartisan balanced budget amendment earlier this year that would require Congress to balance the budget each year, and he wrote a letter to his colleagues, that's pretty uppity for a freshman, I would observe, urging them to come to a deal to reduce the national debt and its fast approaching limit. He said, quote, there's a growing disconnect between what most Americans want, quality roads, a safety net for the sick and elderly, strong investments in education and research that will develop the well-paying jobs of tomorrow, and our country's ability to pay for them. I believe we have to be realistic and make tough decisions on both sides. Right on. Bob Livingston from Louisiana, Republican of Louisiana, was chairman of the House Appropriations Committee in 1997 when the House made the historic vote on a overwhelmingly bipartisan basis. John Tanner and I and Mark Udall, I think, were also there and also voted for it, to balance the budget. to remind all of you, once we got that accomplished, 5 years of prosperity ensued. Bob served 11 terms in the House and was Speaker-elect in 1998, at which point he left the House and left John Tanner and me and Mark. John Tanner, a former fellow Blue Dog, has long championed the need to balance our budget and pay down the national debt. He served 11 terms in the House and was a senior member of the Ways and Means Committee. He's now a member of the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, a bipartisan nonprofit organization committed to educating the public about issues that have significant fiscal policy impact. Please tell me we're going to get this back up. Oh, we're going to get this back up. So now, please welcome Senator Jeff Sessions. And again, thank you. And here is your very own Budget Hero T-shirt.
Hey, hey.
All righty. Here we go. Wait a minute. This is important. Budget Hero.
All right. How
Budget
about
Hero.
that? Good deal, James.
Looks good. Looks good.
Good.
Okay.
That would have looked good in Afghanistan, wouldn't it?
I agree.
Congratulations on your leadership of the Wilson Center. It's a very, very valuable national institution, and I congratulate you on the work that you've been doing, in particular raising knowledge of the extent and scope of the debt that our nation faces. I know I'm a broken record around here and that nobody wants to hear me. Mark will be presiding in the Senate, and he sees me come in and says, oh my gosh, I'm going to hear him talk more about Rogoff and Reinhardt and all these things that we talk about, but I do believe it's important. Just looking at what happened if we didn't raise the debt limit, if we didn't raise it, what would happen? We're borrowing 40% of what we spend. We're spending $3,700 billion. We take in $2,200 billion. So if you reduce to $2,200 billion, and you paid $250 billion for interest, $700 for Social Security, $500 for Medicare, $700 for defense. If you didn't touch those, that'd leave you about $50 billion to fund all the rest of the government. So, I mean, we're really at a point in our history when the depth of our spending and debt is endangering the republic. So this program, it can't be perfect. No program can be perfect. Jane, I appreciate the opportunity of you share it with us and let's see it work some. For example, education, well, that's 90% a state function. So when you talk about how much federal money should be spent on education, you have to realize we're not the only person fighting money for education. Cities and counties also provide money to education. So it's not a perfect thing, but the difficult choices that must be faced when you have a 40% shortfall, as we have today, require more knowledge than most of us have, most even in Congress, and I do think this procedure will help us get there to know more about it. Congratulations on the work you're doing, and keep working to educate Americans. Mark, it's great to serve with you, and I appreciate your interest in all these issues, too.
Okay. Senator Mark Udall. Here, wait. Here. This is too small for you. There
I don't
he is.
say that.
There he
Thank
is.
you. I'll replace the T-shirt I have in the gym. It's Beer Drinkers for Healthcare, and I'll start wearing this one. And that has a Colorado hook, Jane, because we're the number one producer when it comes to beer in the great state of Colorado. Right. But it's wonderful to be here. Senator Sessions is hard on himself. I actually enjoy listening to him on the floor of the Senate. He's a former prosecutor. He has a way with a jury, and when I'm the one-man jury sitting in the chair, he enthralls me. So, and I'm pleased to be here with him and John Tanner and Bob Livingston. In the House, John Tanner initiated me into the ways of fiscal rectitude and conservatism, and I was throwing everything I could at the wall over there. Line item veto, the Cooper-Wolf Commission, which turned into the Bipartisan Commission. We also had some other pay-as-you-go, and it served us pretty well. But we now find ourselves at a little different time. Before I make a couple comments on this game, I want to thank Congresswoman Harman. She's a hero, I think, to all of us here. We're really pleased that she's at the Wilson Center and that she's found the Budget Hero 2.0, right? Is that how we put it? And we're going to bring it back to the attention of the American public. I've got 2 kids in college, and I got to tell you, over the years I've been a real nag about video games. But I'm here to endorse this one, to tell my kids and all of us oldsters to get on it, because this is a timely and important subject. And this is a terrific interactive way to face up to, as Senator Sessions pointed, one of the most serious issues facing our country. I think the American people are ahead of us here in the Congress. But regardless of party, I think it's all the more important we give our citizens the tools so they can understand the challenges that we're going to face in making these tough decisions. Another hero of mine is Admiral Mullen, soon to depart as chairman of the Joint Chiefs, but he's led us so well, and he recently called our national debt the greatest national security threat we face. I think we violently agree with him. That's why we're here today. I mentioned I think we're living in historic times. We've got some pivotal decisions to make in these upcoming weeks. Tough choices to be made. We need, I think, patriots and statesmen, understanding that somebody once said, Jane, that a statesman's a dead politician, but we need statesmen who are going to look at their broader interests. So I hope we can put down our political swords, sharpen our pencils, get on those green eye shades, and work on a bipartisan strategy to pay down the debt. The point of the game is to educate, it's to empower us, and I know it's going to spark discussions all over the country and in classrooms and hopefully right here on the Hill. And Jeff, I bet if you and I, who are both confessed on the way here, we're not all that computer literate, although we both work a mean BlackBerry, I bet if we sat down, played this game, I could give on Medicare, you could give on revenues, and we'd fix this all in one go.
Well,
all right, thank you. Okay.
Well, we're going to see that when the kids play the game. Congressman Livingston. Amen. Now, where are you going to wear this?
My T-shirt.
That's your T-shirt. Where are you going to wear this?
It's going to be on my chest, I hope.
All righty. Got it.
But I'm going fishing with that. Thank you very much, Jay.
Yeah.
And congratulations again to you on this great thing. Lee Hamilton was a good friend, and you've been a very good friend. We've traveled together over the years, and the Woodrow Wilson Center is in great hands. Thanks to American Public Media for working with Wilson Center in putting this together. It's a great tool. It's a very important issue. Senator Udall, you may not know this, but yes, I'm a Southerner since I was 6 years old. Senator Sessions and I represent the South, and probably from very much the same political philosophy, but I imported it from Colorado Springs, Colorado, where I was born. And John Tanner from Tennessee, you are an long-time friend. Not an old friend. Yeah, you're an old friend, too. But a friend of long, that's better put, much more diplomatic. But John and I were thespians with a TH together a long time ago. We starred in 1776, a one-night performance, and then they closed it. So it didn't last long. This is an incredibly important project. And I just coincidentally, before Jane called me yesterday, I had spoken to a group and had pulled up some numbers. And to show you how important this issue is, obviously you can read the newspapers and you can see the impasse between Congress and the White House and Republicans and Democrats in the House and Senate and everything else. But to highlight how important it is, I left Congress in 1999. The budget was balanced. In 2000, the aggregate debt for the history of the country was $5.7 trillion. The Democrats controlled the House. The Republicans controlled the House for the next 6 years, and the Senate for that matter. And yet, at the end of that 6 years, the debt, the aggregate debt, not all the deficits, had gone up because of 9/11 and Iraq and Iran, and Afghanistan and everything else that was going on, but domestic spending as well. The debt had gone up 50% to $8.7 trillion at the end of 6 years. American people rose up in indignation throughout. The Republicans brought in the Democrats. In 4 years after that, the debt had increased by almost 60% to about $13 trillion. Now, that was a year ago. By the end of this fiscal year, the debt will have gone up about $1.5 trillion to about $14.5 trillion. 11% increase, and inflation is way below 3%. We got a problem. I mean, you take that progression, some people say the country could collapse within 10 years. I don't know if that's hysterical, but it is possible. And we can't afford to let that happen. So I congratulate everybody, Republicans, Democrats, anybody who pays attention to this problem. We got to pay attention. I don't know whether they're going to work out a deal in the next few days. Probably not. But sooner or later, we got to work it out. And this is very, very helpful in helping us get to that end. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you. Last but certainly not least, John Tanner of Tennessee. Here you go. Wait. I'll give you this. Here you go.
Thank you, Jane.
Yeah, this is for you. Where are you going to wear this?
Am I poorly clothed?
Where are you going to wear it? Huh?
I will. Thank you.
Okay.
Jane Harmon, a great member of Congress, a great lady, and I'm so delighted that you're at Wilson Center. This is a good thing for our country. I'm pleased to be here with Senator Udall, Senator Sessions, and Bob Livingston. Both of us did play in this act in this play 1776. I think because both of us have ancestors who signed the Declaration of Independence. So I don't know if they would be proud of us now, Bob, but it was a lot of fun. I wish this had a simple answer. I remember in 2001, the revenue was a little over 19% of GDP, and the expenditures were a little under 19% of GDP. We had a balanced budget. We had a little surplus. Actually, the surplus, in my view, as a business guy, was not an operating surplus. Most of the surplus money was excess Social Security receipts over Social Security disbursements. But nonetheless, the government was in the black. The second worst thing I believe that happened in 2001, 9/11 of course being the worst, but the second worst thing that happened in 2001 from my perspective was in February when the Congressional Budget Office forecast there'd be a $5 trillion surplus over the next 10 years. People around here became euphoric. I remember Secretary of the Treasury O'Neill coming before the Ways and Means Committee and saying he was, quote, concerned that we would pay the debt off so quickly that we'd have to pay a premium to get our paper back. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, we have no money. This is a forecast. It's supposed to be 75 and sunny today, and you get up and it's 40 and rainy. You don't put on sunglasses, flip-flops, and shorts and go for a walk. There was never any money here. It was a forecast. And so, anyway, we embarked on an economic plan that by 2003, revenue was only around 16% of GDP, and expenditures had gone up over 20. We'd gone to war in Afghanistan, Iraq, and so forth. The point of, and we've been operating on this same game plan now for several years. The point of what I have said is this. Unfortunately, this is not a situational deficit. It is a structural deficit. The best I can figure, one must, if one is serious, one must get into where the money is. You rob a bank because that's where the money is. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, interest on the debt, and national defense account for 85 cents out of every dollar, approximately. There is no way that you can cut out of the 15% and get anywhere near even. On the other hand, revenue right now is hovering 15%, maybe 14.9. This is not just due to the recession. Again, it is structural. The best I can figure, we are about 1.5 points 1.75 to 2.5 points below where we have to be revenue-wise as a percentage of GDP to have the kind of government we all want. I'm not talking about a bloated, inefficient bureaucracy. I'm talking about food safety, FAA, all the State Department commitments around the world that hopefully will keep us safer with soft power so we don't have to send our troops in to be shot at and so on. And so if one looks at the big picture, I think this game will lead you to the conclusion that there has to be structural change. Not just we can't respond situationally because this is not going to get any better. We have to structurally change our tax code and structurally change the entitlement systems to get out of this. And it's going to take leadership, but it's also going to take the political will of the American people. It's hard to lead a parade if there's nobody behind you. And some of these fellows that are now and ladies that are now in office have to have people like the Wilson Center and others out there saying it's okay to talk about raising revenue. It's okay to talk about some of these structural changes that must be made in some of the entitlement programs. And we'll be behind you. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you. Okay. Well, that obviously is the perfect segue to our presentation of the game, which will be led by Dave Rajewski, who heads the Science and Technology program at the Wilson Center. I'm starting to like Linda's idea that every member of Congress should be required to play this game, and after you see it, I think you'll understand why. Dave?
I don't get a T-shirt.
Yeah, you do.
Oh, I do. Okay.
You get your T-shirt. Wait a minute.
No, this is going to be. That's a small. That's
It's big enough for me. Okay.
Well, thank you all for coming and helping us launch the game. In 2002, the Wilson Center launched a serious games initiative.